We're surrounded by sound every single second, but have you ever really stopped to think about what it is? What if it's more than just noise? What if sound is the hidden architect of our entire reality, a force that can shape matter, influence our biology, and so much more? Well, in this explainer, that's exactly what we're going to explore, the hidden frequencies of the universe.
To really get our heads around this, it helps to listen to one of the most brilliant minds in history. Nikola Tesla famously said that the secrets of the universe aren't really in matter itself, but in energy, frequency, and vibration. And that one idea, it's the key to everything we're about to dive into.
So, what is this hidden power of sound? The sources we're looking at propose a pretty radical idea. Think about it. We usually see sound as a result of something, right? Like thunder comes after the lightning. But what if that's all wrong? What if sound is actually the cause? An active, creative force that's shaping the very fabric of our world.
And that, of course, leads to a massive question about our reality. One of the sources we looked at claims we've been taught a subtle deception, just a small twist in our scientific models that might have completely changed how we see the world and our place in it.
Okay, so here's what that deception looks like. We're all taught that we live in an electromagnetic universe, where forces like light and radio waves are the main event. But what if we've got that backwards? This alternative model proposes a magnetoelectric universe, where sound and magnetism actually come first. They are the forces that create the electromagnetism we see. It seems like a tiny shift, but it's huge. It puts vibration right at the very beginning of everything.
Now, this idea of sound being the original creative force, it might sound radical today, but it's actually not a new idea at all. In fact, it's a concept that's woven deep into some of humanity's oldest spiritual traditions. The idea that creation wasn't something you'd see, but something you'd hear.
And the pattern is it's incredible. You look across cultures from the Islamic command be to the Christian in the beginning was the word, to the Hindu sacred sound om. Even the ancient Egyptians and Australian Aboriginals had stories of the world being sung into creation. It's this shared intuition from all over the globe that existence didn't start with a silent flash, but with a divine sound, a vibration that literally sang reality into being.
So, these ancient beliefs are incredibly powerful, but can we see any of this in action today? Let's jump from ancient texts to modern labs, where some really amazing experiments are literally making these invisible vibrations visible, showing us the real-world effects of sound, frequency, and even our own thoughts.
And this brings us to the fascinating field of cymatics. It's basically the study of making sound visible. What you do is you take a simple plate with sand or water on it, you vibrate it with a specific frequency, and that sound wave will literally organize the random particles into these intricate, beautiful geometric patterns. It's a stunning way to see sound's power to create order out of complete chaos.
And these ordered patterns often point to another hidden code in nature, the golden ratio. This is a specific mathematical proportion that you see everywhere. I mean everywhere. From the spiral of a snail's shell to the seeds in a sunflower, all the way up to the shape of entire galaxies. It's like a fundamental design principle that's just woven into the universe.
And speaking of fundamental things, what's more essential to life than water? This quote from the Quran really highlights its central role. And this idea is the basis for the very influential, though I should say scientifically debated, work of Dr. Masaru Emoto. He proposed that water isn't just a substance, it's a medium that's uniquely sensitive to all the vibrations around it. Dr. Emoto's experiments came back with some pretty wild results. He said that water that was exposed to positive words, to prayer, to classical music, when you froze it, it formed these beautiful, perfect, symmetrical crystals. But water that was exposed to negative words or harsh music, it just formed these distorted, chaotic messes. The core claim here is pretty radical, that our consciousness can physically change the molecular structure of water. This idea was taken even further with the famous rice experiment, something a lot of people have tried at home. You take 2 jars of cooked rice. To one jar, you give positive words every day. To the other, negative words. The reported results are pretty striking. The loved rice stays fresh or ferments nicely, while the hated rice gets moldy and gross really fast. It suggests our intention can have a direct impact on the physical world.
And of course, you know where this is going. This all leads to a really profound question for every single one of us. If our intentions and vibrations can have such a visible effect on water and rice, what are the words we speak and the thoughts we think doing to our own bodies? The bodies that are mostly made of water.
Following that line of thought leads us to an even more specific idea. If vibrations in general can affect matter, then maybe specific frequencies can have predictable effects on our health. Frequencies that can either heal us or maybe even harm us. So in the world of sound healing, you hear about certain frequencies all the time. Two of the most popular are 432 Hz, which is said to be in tune with nature and really calming, and 528 Hz. Now this one gets called the love frequency or the miracle note, and the claims or sources linked to it are incredible. Everything from repairing DNA to reducing anxiety.
This begs a pretty big question, right? Why isn't most music tuned to these frequencies? Well, it turns out our current standard, A equals 440 Hz, is actually pretty recent. It was only standardized globally around the middle of the 20th century. Before that, 432 Hz was a really common tuning standard. This has led some to argue that we've collectively shifted away from a more natural, harmonious frequency.
And the claims get even more specific and, honestly, more dramatic. There's a widely cited TED Talk by a researcher named Anthony Holland, where he showed an absolutely astonishing experiment. He claimed that by using specific high frequencies, we're talking 100 to 300,000 Hz, he could shatter cancer cells in a petri dish while leaving healthy cells totally unharmed, all just by matching their unique resonant frequency.
Okay, so this is all fascinating stuff, from the creation of the cosmos down to vibrating cells. But what do we do with it? How can we apply it? Let's bring all these big ideas back down to Earth, back to us, and focus on how this knowledge might actually be used for personal transformation.
The sources suggest a really powerful shift in thinking. Stop seeing yourself as just a listener of sound and start seeing yourself as a sonic instrument. Your speech, your breath, your heartbeat, these are all vibrations you are constantly broadcasting out into the world. And just like any instrument, you can learn how to tune yourself for better harmony.
For a really structured example of this kind of self-tuning, we can look at the Islamic spiritual practice of dhikr, or remembrance. It's a method of sonic alignment that moves in stages. It starts with the audible repetition of sacred phrases with the tongue. Then it moves inward to a silent internal vibration that you synchronize with your own heartbeat. And finally, it becomes a state of pure, resonant awareness, beyond any words. It's a whole path to align your entire being with a single, sacred frequency.
This quote just reminds us of the power and the responsibility that we have in our own ability to create sound. If a good word is like an act of charity, that implies our speech has a real, tangible effect on the world and on other people. It's an act of creation, a vibration we choose to send out.
So, to bring this all together, what are the key takeaways here? First, that sound and vibration are presented as not just things we hear, but as fundamental creative forces. Second, that some really interesting experiments suggest our words and intentions can physically change matter. Third, that specific frequencies are claimed to have powerful healing effects. And finally, and this might be the most important one, we aren't just passive observers. We can consciously use sound and intention to tune our own inner world.
So we'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. If every thought, every word, and every action you take contributes to your own personal vibration, a kind of signature frequency for your life, what song are you playing? And is it in harmony with the person you truly want to be?